ever ask me about my business, Kay.
Yeah.
Don't ever ask me about my business.
It's really great to see.
Okay, just this once.
Okay,
you can ask
me about my business, and I'll lie to your fucking face while these men kiss my hands in front of you.
And call me the Don.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I think they say Godfather, because, he's Godfather of these kids, even though he killed that schmuck.
Because
I said schmuck. Wow, I went Yiddish.
Please, you should have said guinea, because that's used probably 70 times throughout the film.
I have never seen such a concentration of bad family dynamics and racial slurs in the same film.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Endless. Nobody can deliver an insult without using a racial slur. Literally not one in the whole film. Shocking.
The funny thing is, I love this film, and obviously there's a rich place for it in, overarching, movie history. It's
in your heart.
It's definitely well deserved, but, on this rewatching, the racism hit me more.
Yeah.
Which was really weird, the constant, guinea, and, okay, so you're a Mick Kraut, great.
Yeah, I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ.
You just needed to go out of your way to insult the man.
Well, and even characters who you're supposed to like Vito Corleone, the old Don, who's no, don't use our congressman. Use some Jew congressman. What? Are you shitting me, Vito? Why does that fucking matter? It's interesting. I understand why it's the seminal gangster film, essentially. Because it kind of established so much of that style. There's so many tropes that I've seen in other gangster films, which I should say as an opening caveat, I don't like gangster films. Like that traditional, American gangsters, I can do whatever I want. I have money and connections and I can double park.
It feels good to be a gangster.
Yes, but with that whole, nobody can say anything to me. I'm gonna be an asshole. And if anyone says anything, it's their fault. I dislike that strongly. I like crime films and gangster films.
You like the classic Italian Job, is what you're telling me.
Yes. Or, actually I haven't seen the original, Italian Job. I liked the newer one.
I did too.
I thought it was a solid movie. Or, British gangster films, where, outside of, Essex Boys, where literally no one in the whole film deserves to live. Which is, that's why I stopped watching Essex Boys, halfway through, and I'm like, all these characters are gonna die, and I just don't care. But things like, Layer Cake, I really enjoyed, because these are a group of good people who work in an industry where you have to be a shitty person sometimes, but for the most part, are fighting to be reasonable, normal, everyday people. And don't want craziness, and don't want to be this special, I'm a gangster. I'm above the world. And it makes more sense in The Godfather because specifically, this was an oppressed immigrant group that was discriminated against that had, seized it back and were yeah. And that was, a part of it is, the whole rant that he goes on at the beginning, in that opening scene where he's this is about, the people who look down on us. Mm-hmm. Or not the opening scene, but the second scene. It's all those, big shots who, thumbed their noses at us and, look down at us, now we're one of them. And that makes sense more in terms of that, self-aggrandizing thing. But for the most part, I'm not a big fan of that. So sorry, that's just kind of a side caveat that I had to put together.
I totally understand it. And, honestly, I haven't seen a bunch of them. I absolutely love The Godfather. I love Godfather 2 potentially even more than I love the first film.
That's actually, I've heard that from a few people, that the second one's actually better.
But, again, we'll get to that later, and I'm not going to, on air, spoil anything for you, because that would just be jack-off.
Yeah, no, damn you, Etienne.
We have documented footage that Etienne is an asshole. Anyways, so this was your first time watching it, and with the caveat of not really being into the whole gangster criminal film. How did you like it as a first take?
I liked it. I thought it was a very well made film in terms of the cinematography, in terms of the writing, and in terms of the vast majority of the performances. I thought they were all well done. I The one thing, and I know, like, I'm prepared to be tarred and feathered. Like, it's okay. My body is prepared, and I know most people are going to disagree with me.
And I'm going to tar and feather you because I'm right here.
I know, which is fine. Again, I came in expected. My loins are girded. Everything else tarred and feathered. Just leave the loins. Leave the gun. Take the cannolis.
Not the face. Oh, okay. Okay, not the crotch. Not the crotch. Ah, not the face. Not the face. Oh, not the crotch.
Oh, God. But it, for me, was not an incredible film. And it was definitely one of those things where I've heard so much about it, and it's such a loved piece of American cinema that I was going into it, and it was really well put together for what it was, but the film itself failed to move me in any way. And that's something that, especially from something that has such high emotion and such high stakes, and these characters who have such complex relationships with each other, I was expecting there to be some movement for me. I was expecting to sympathize with the characters more. I was expecting for there to be a plot that really dragged me in and made me go like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen? And it didn't. And I think that a part of that is because it was kind of the prototypical American gangster film. So there were a lot of tropes that I've seen in other things that I was like, well, that's what's going to happen. Okay, well, that's what's going to happen.
There's also, like, distinct story arcs within the film, which, yeah, they fit together in the greater scheme, but it's almost like this is one movie, this is one movie, yes, and this is one movie. And I get that. Like, there's definitely parts of the arc that I love. Like, I love the beginning part when it's dealing with Vito and, like, yes, his whole downfall. Like, that is probably the best part of the movie for me.
100% agree.
And I like the very end of it. The end of the arc with Michael taking over.
For sure. Well, because those are also very much the most connected parts of the film.
Right.
But yeah, like, a huge portion of it, up till the end of that first section where Michael has to go away because he's just fucking killed the shitty police captain and the Turk. Like, who
shouldn't have done Turkish. That. He's a war hero.
Well, yeah. Like, number one, what the fuck? Like, that was, like, easily the most cartoonishly over-the-top, overbearing cop. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, depiction that I've ever fucking seen in my life. And I was just like, are you serious? Are you actually serious? Yeah, hold him up. Yeah, bap! Like, really? Like,
I understand where you're coming from with that.
Shit him away.
I think, like, obviously he's a corrupt cop who felt empowered because he had one of the strongest mobs in New York backing him.
Yeah.
So that he felt even more that he could get away with whatever the fuck that he wanted.
Oh, no, I feel. But I mean, it literally, like chewing his, like, own mouth. Like, that was one of the few performances in the film that I was like, okay, you're not doing that great of a job. Everyone else.
Well, he was also a bastard and he deserved to die. Oh! So, I mean.
Yeah, frished up 1,000,000 young punks. Yeah, poorly. Like, I'm gonna grab your penis again. There's a lot of penis grabbing in that scene. But it felt after that first section, after Michael goes away, like, here's a series of vignettes in the Corleone family history. And I feel like a part of that is because it was really trying to be an adaptation of the book. It wasn't trying to be its own original thing. And it's the first time that I've truly seen someone trying to do a real adaptation of the book and had it kind of fall on its face. Like, seeing the weaknesses of trying to do that because they had to cut out so much material.
The book is a fucking tome. Like, it's bigger than most dictionaries, most Bibles. Like, it is.
It's my Bible. You know, I like something
with
that's,
reason.
You know, complete, you know. I haven't actually read it. I apologize.
Well, I'm lying. Because it's a fucking, like, I'm intimidated just looking at the thing. Like, that's the reality on my end. I would love to read it. I love the Godfather films. I love the story there.
Yeah.
But
it's huge.
You could literally whack somebody with the book.
Beautiful. You know, you'll help them sleep with the fishes. You tie the book to their legs and, you know, they're going to sink. Actually, it's wood, so I guess it would... Never mind. I'm not getting into physics here. We're not getting into physics.
Well, depending on what the outside is coated with... If
steel and gold to represent their hardness
and gold.
Silver and gold.
Talk about complete non-sequiturs.
Go straight to the Rankin and Bass. Like, that would be fun. A Rankin and Bass adaptation of The Godfather.
He's still alive.
Rankin?
Yeah.
Or Bass?
Fuck, I forget who I looked up.
Oh my god. I didn't even realize. I figured they died decades ago of
maybe
karma
it wasn't
for their sins.
Fuck.
I love them regardless, but
forget who it was an old school animator who I looked up recently who was still alive.
Nice.
Sorry again for the complete non-sequitur.
No, that's cool.
Francis Ford Coppola is still kicking too.
And he's definitely one of Andrew's, my roommate's favorite directors, which is cool because I'd like to see some of his other work because this was like a 50-50 collaboration with the author of the book. Which is something interesting going in that I wasn't expecting, that it's like directed by Francis Ford Coppola and the writer of the book. Written by Francis Ford Coppola and the writer of the book. And I was like, okay, he insisted on some things.
The interesting thing too with specifically Francis Ford Coppola and the relationship to The Godfather is it's so much of his career too. Yes, he's done other things, but like, he did Godfather 1, 2, and 3. He did a TV series doing The Godfather, which God. I haven't even seen. I checked him out the other day because I was like, hey, what else has he done? But
more Godfather.
Yeah. I did this once and it worked. Here's another helping. It's Oliver Twist this shit.
Yes. Oh, Jesus. Can I have some more? No. Francis Ford Coppola will die. I've never been so sure.
He's worth more than the city of Detroit that bore him.
Oh, Jesus. That's, probably true. The city of Detroit is worth approximately $37.40 right now. And it's a fucking crime and a travesty, but it's worth $37.40.
I was gonna say, too, I'm wondering if part of the reason that you had a harder time getting into it and really enjoying it is most of the characters are bastards and not getting into the individual characters. Because those characters that I truly love in the film. And I'm just wondering if you had that feeling or not. Because I know you talked briefly last time you were here before we did the podcast specifically about Sonny.
Yes.
And that whole execution scene.
Well, he's a sack of shit. I actually liked Sonny, and that was actually, I thought, one of the best portrayals in the film, is that he's this person who, you get him, and you understand why he acts the way he does. Like, he does care about not his wife and kids, but the rest of his family.
Right.
He cares about. And, like, you get Sonny, and I didn't feel bad when Sonny died, because I'm like, you literally have spent the last year begging everyone else in the mafia, every other mafia family to shoot you in the face, and then you ran off without a bodyguard.
See,
but
I feel bad. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve it. He totally deserved it in that scenario. Like, that, you had it coming completely. But, like, I love the character enough that, like, I still, like, every time I feel bad when I see it. Because I'm just like, no.
And that makes a lot of sense, because you knew it was coming. And I knew that there was the famous scene of the assassination there. So when he pulled up to the toll booth, I was like, oh! It's this guy who gets machine gunned at the toll booth. Okay, that, for sure. All right. Bye, Sonny. It was kind of like, all right. Because that's like a famous, like, seminal movie scene. Oh, yeah. And, like, I'd seen that years ago. But you're absolutely right. A part of my issue with it was in how the characters were portrayed, and not necessarily in the fact that, for a long time, the only person without blood on their hands, the only person who is like, steadfastly trying to be moral is well, and Michael, like,
I was being a jackass.
But there wasn't enough time to actually go into depth about any character in the film. there simply wasn't enough time. They were trying to cover too much material. And so you have all these conversations that are like, okay, you've dropped this line that's obviously showing you this one thing about this character, and you've illuminated that aspect of the character. You've illuminated that aspect of the character. You've illuminated that aspect of the character. And that was really, really deft filmmaking. That was like the work that went into making sure that this shot tells you everything you need to, like, all of the basic archetypal traits of these two characters. The gorgeous shot, on the stairs where Sonny and his ingenue, whatever her name, I don't think they ever even say her name, go upstairs to go fuck in the bathroom. And then Tom follows them up. Like, the way that they had the mirroring shots of the two of them going up and the mirroring shots of the two of them coming down was beautiful. And there were all these moments in the film where they were able to express these concepts without saying anything. But because of the fact that they expressed it non-verbally, they expressed it totally visually in this impersonal kind of narrative way, like narration. You didn't get the chance to get to know any of the characters. Like, you know this about them, but you don't really get a flavor of them. Like, the character that you get the most flavor of is, kicking myself that I can't remember his name. Cannoli homie.
Oh, Clemenza.
Clemenza. Like, you get more flavor of Clemenza.
Like, honestly, like, I love Luca, I love Clemenza, and I love Sonny.
Yes. Which, I feel, my three favorites are, Luca, Clemenza, and Tom.
I like Tom, too. It's just, he's
just not a wartime consigliere.
Well, yes.
I'm sorry. I had to. It was a perfect opportunity.
He has the most morals and the most upstanding character to him. But other than that, I find him a little bland, which is why I don't get into him. And yes, there's a lot that you get glimpses of that's either like, you know, in lines that show you more about the character or in visual expressions of who the character is. And it may be because I've seen it multiple times, and it may be because I'm choosing to read more into those characters that I've got a stronger depth and appreciation and fondness and love that pulls me back in every time.
No, and that definitely makes sense.
I mean, I love Luca, but
he
dies
like
3 scenes.
That was something that was funny to me, was that I was like, yeah, Luca Brasi, we gonna get to see Luca Brasi activate. And I actually love that, like, he is this, like, towering figure that everybody is talking about, and he's, like, the dangerous enforcer. He's the dude everyone's scared of. He's the guy that the Turk and the Tatalias were, like, up front, like, we need to kill Luca or else we're fucked. Like, I loved that they then nerfed him right at the beginning, and the whole film was about the transition from the old to the new. And I thought that was a beautiful through line and was articulated really well. But yeah, you don't get any of Luca Brasi kicking ass, and I wanted to get to see Luca Brasi kick ass, but we didn't get it. But the reason for me that I like Luca Brasi, you get so much flavor in the tiny little time that he's on screen. And Clemenza is literally nothing but flavor. I mean, he's cannoli homie. He's spaghetti homie. He is made of flavor. And I enjoyed Tom the most because he was the anomaly in the film. Because he is both the outsider to the family and the heart of keeping everything running for so much of the film. And especially in a movie where, like, just about everybody is as disloyal as you could possibly guess, he is, like, the most loyal son of a bitch in the film. And I was just like, I love that about his character, even though you didn't get that same level of flavor from him.
And the specific duality of the interpersonal relationship between him and all of the other siblings. Because, yes, he's been with the family since he was very young. Yes, he's basically like a brother, but at the same time, they're not blood. And there's such a specific disconnect, especially with him and Sonny at the end, which is somewhat disheartening. And it's probably my least favorite thing with Sonny is, like, you were the one that found him. Like, you two grew up together.
Yeah,
you were fucking intertwined. Like, more than anybody else. And you're the one that's one of the first people to be like, no, you're not family.
Well, and even he realizes how fucked that is right after he says it. Because he's just mad. Because he just wants to shoot everyone in the face.
Yes, he is brash and pugnacious.
He wasn't a good dad. Like, I just love, like, how straightforward that line was. It's like, I always thought you were a good consigliere. Sonny wasn't a good dad.
Yeah, there's, connectedness with the other families and every interaction when it's not just the Corleones, when it's like the multiple meetings with the 5 families, when you have the interaction between multiple highbrow, like I don't know if we want to jump to this yet, but I love the stuff at the end with Tessio.
Yes!
When he knows that he's about to get whacked and he's like,
the puppy dog eyes.
Yeah, he's like, can you get me out of this? He's like, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do.
Like,
and Tessio's like, all right, well, tell Michael it was only business. I didn't mean any disrespect. Well,
and that's actually what's funny is that he says tell Michael, like, you gotta tell Michael it was just business. Like, I've always liked him, like, it's cool, before he does the puppy dog eyes. And that's part of what I loved about that, is that there's the very straightforward, like, I want you to, like, this is what I really feel, like, this was business.
I would like to live, but like,
this is where it's at. And then he tries to pull the puppy dog eyes, and Tom just goes, "No, dude, you know I can't do that." And he's like, like, I know, I'm done. I'm sleeping with the fishes. I'm Luca Brasi here.
But like, I love that too, because it's the most like face to face with death.
Yes.
Because there are so many other interactions throughout the film where it comes off that half-cocked, like, oh, I'm bigger than you, fuck you, suck my dick. Like, you can't touch me. But, like, that is, like, you have a character confront death, be resigned to it, and at his core, there's goodness. Yes. Like, I don't like Tessio as a character because he's a fucking backstabber. He
betrays them, yeah.
But other than that, like, that scene, like, oh.
Well, and especially coming out of the whole build-up to that, where it's like he and, I still can't remember. Clemenza. Fucking cannoli homie. That's like how I remember. He's cannoli homie.
Leave the gun. Take the cannolis.
Take the cannolis. Which was an ad-libbed line. Which is, I think, one of my favorite little, like, random facts about it. It's, like, arguably the most famous line from the film. Other than, I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Well, yeah, that's probably the most dryly iconic. I love the, like, Fredo, you're my older brother and I love you.
But if you ever fucking take a side against the family again, but never fucking take a side against the family again.
It was, I think it's just, don't ever take sides against the family again. It's that very quick, clean, dry, like.
Because Fredo's worthless. Like, I love that they just show at the beginning, Fredo is worthless, go to fucking, just go to Las Vegas. We don't want you here, Fredo.
Yeah, it's for you, but it's also for the rest of the fucking family, because you fucked up.
They came for Pops.
And you did nothing.
You fumbled the gun and then cowered behind the car. Like, I thought Fredo was the one who sold him out, honestly. But I guess the family disagreed. I don't know if it comes out later that something else happens. I mean, I know that in 2 there's a line which is, "You broke my heart, Fredo."
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming Fredo gets shot after that. But
there's some very touching scenes with Fredo in the second film, and again, I'm not going to spoil any of those.
I've got to get to the second one.
We'll probably do the second one as a podcast down the line. I don't love that. Like, oh man, this is Godfather month.
Yeah, they'd be a little bit nuts. But jumping back, the build up to that final thing with Tessio, what made Tessio turn on them was Sonny's turn as Don, which fucked their reputation with everyone. And then the weakness that, or the apparent weakness that Vito was showing afterwards. And the fact that he's like, look, like when he and Clemenza are like, you've always said, if we ever asked, we could separate and be our own family. And you know, we've never wanted to do that, but like, I'm sorry, the time has come. And when then Vito and Michael say no, that's the turning point for Tessio.
Well, he doesn't even, that's totally the turning point. He didn't even say no. He said, give us 6 months.
He said, give us 6 months.
And he's like, you can't do that because at that point, Brazzini will have already pushed us out, essentially, which is what causes him to go over to Brazzini. The thing that I love about Clemenza in that scene is he's like, fuck Brazzini, and he sticks to that.
Because fuck Brazzini. But that I loved in terms of the complexity of Tessio's character. And you have to really read into it. You know, they never say any of that explicitly, but it's there if you like dig a little under the surface.
Which is again something that I think I've probably benefited from multiple viewings and having that more personal interaction with the character because I've seen it multiple times.
Well, and I love that. And for a lot of all the main characters, like all of the brothers and them, there are these meanings that you can dig under the surface a little bit and get, and it's really cool. But I especially all of the plot lines that involve, like, non-family members. Like, literally all of Michael's love plot lines were pointless.
Yeah,
and
especially
completely unsupported.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get married in Sicily because I'm bored. Oh, wait. She's a shitty driver and car bomb. Alright. Well, now I'm back in the States, and that's the other thing. The time jumps, they literally only actually... This was, like, my big problem with the filmmaking in it, was the first time jump, when they were skipping forward through the whole period of all the scandals and the police crackdowns and everything else, and they were just repeatedly showing fucking Clemenza passed out drunk on his bed, and then there's the random shot of spaghetti, and I was like, that is the most ridiculously over the top. Like, I get what they were trying to do. And it would have worked at the time because it's like, this is just daily life. Right. It's the minutiae of everyday life. Even though it's these big crazy events, but because of the fact that that has become a part of the whole idea of the American Italian mob, the fact that I was like, you really just like did a fade cut to spaghetti. And then a fade cut back to, like, crime scenes, and then a fade cut to spaghetti, and then a fade cut back to crime scenes, and I was like, that is the most stereotypical bullshit ever. But then again, I didn't see it when it first came out. This was, like, the first time it had been done. But other than that, they don't tell you that any of the other time jumps are happening. They're in the middle of action. There's the scene where it's like, okay, well, now Michael's in charge. Okay, you didn't deal with the process of Michael officially becoming the head of the family, any of that. Okay, here's our whole conversation. Yeah, we're going to move in 6 months. We're going to do the thing in 6 months. Okay. Suddenly, it's like a year later. He comes back and it's like, okay, I've been back for a year. What are you talking about? You've been back for a year. What happened during the year? Apparently that was when he became leader of the gang. Ba-bum. But somehow I still want to marry you, Kay. But in every other area of my life, I make, like, solid good decisions that make sense and aren't completely random and half-cocked. But you, Kay, we're gonna get married, and she's somehow into it. And they don't explain that. They don't go into it. Kay's character is literally a communion wafer. It is flavorless and unleavened.
Yeah, no, I hate Kay.
And I was just like, I wanted to like her, and I'm like, you just never built her character. They never built, frankly, they didn't build a single female character in the entire thing. The sister, the most time that she gets is the ridiculous over-the-top scene of her smashing everything in the apartment that is like her husband specifically trying to piss her off so that they can get fucking Sonny assassinated. Like that. And it drove me nuts that I was just like, there's all these characters that you're basically like, are obviously supposed to be a bigger part of this. You don't have time to cover them, and you're not covering what the progression is. Like, oh, we're getting married. Suddenly we have a 3-year-old son. Suddenly it's this. And that's when it turned into like vignettes from the Corleone family history. And it didn't hold together. Like, narratively, it was obviously like, okay, we're connecting these events, but there's so much going on in between that you're just kind of being like, in the intervening 3 years, we've grown weaker in power, but we have accumulated more supplies in terms of being able to build our empire in Las Vegas. And I'm like, but you didn't show that in film. It's literally one scene, then the next scene that's 3 years later, with nothing to indicate it. And that was really frustrating for me in watching it. And that, I think, is a big part of why, again, adapting the book, they were trying to get through so much material, trying to get to the end game, and in doing so, missed all of this depth that they could have actually built into the characters, where it's like, okay, obviously, they're showing me all of these points in the plot line, kind of a la Citizen Kane. Like, I kept flashing back to our conversations about Citizen Kane, but in Citizen Kane, there was a justification for that.
Right.
There was an overarching design to the film that was based around the fact that you don't get to see all of those moments. You're only getting to have these particular moments along the timeline that show you where he's gotten to, not how he got there. And the problem with that in Godfather is that they're trying to do, like, the whole first part of the movie is like building a linear film and then it's chunks. And that irked me. Because I think it took away from the characters and it took away from the overall power of the story. So that's kind of like my big criticism. Like,
with any of those specific aspects that you said. I even said there's multiple arcs to the film and I like some more than I like others.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I would agree, but for me, again, I've seen it multiple times, and I have such love for it that, like, it's one of those things that you can look past certain flaws.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I feel about it. And again, you know, it's one of those weird areas to look at, because there's certain things that older films do so right. And there's certain things that, like, if you had the benefits of modern filmmaking, there are specific things that you could execute better.
Yes. And I 100% agree.
And I'm not saying at all The Godfather deserves to be remade.
Oh, no. They should remake The Godfather.
It would probably be shit. They should remake
The Godfather. They should have Michael Bay, helmet.
I want to choke you.
They should have it written
choke you.
by Way Ball.
No.
They should have it produced.
I'm just leaving.
You can tell them what
I will finish.
I'm leaving. So obviously, we're going to need a giant spider in Act 3 to fight Superman over whether or not Michael is in fact going to marry Lois Lane. I kid, obviously. Come back, little Shiva, come back.
Done yet?
Yes, I'm done. No, I don't think it should be remade.
Good, because otherwise tarring and feathering would commence in T-36 minutes.
Commence instantaneously.
Even my dog disagrees. I mean, that's...
Well, I mean, he's always had good taste, you know. He's always known that you start with olive oil and you fry the garlic. You always fry the garlic.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about what the family business was.
Oh, start with olive oil, expand to gambling. I love that as just a random detail as we're getting out of the olive oil business. And it's just a throwaway line, but I love that that's the reference to how they became legitimate. And I know that 2 deals so much with, it's the split between older Michael running the family in Vegas, and
Vito getting a start.
And Vito coming as a poor immigrant.
Done fucking beautifully. That's part of why I like 2, is like, there's a lot of good, you know, symmetry and intersplice shots in this one, but it's done so much better in 2 because of how the story is being played out. Like, I love everything that goes on during the baptism, like the intersplicing of scenes from the baptism to everybody getting whacked and like Michael doing business.
Well, and it being that final transition of Michael taking on the role of the Godfather. And that was such a wonderful double meaning throughout the film that that was one of my favorite pieces of symbolism, especially within even having the intermediary scene in the middle, where Tom is explaining to the asshole movie producer, who's just the worst person.
He deserved to have something happen to him. The horse head scene is iconic. Oh, yeah. But yeah, I feel bad for the horse, too.
Yeah. Do you appreciate beauty?
Sure. This is $6,000 on 4 legs.
$600,000 on 4 legs. But I'm not going to race him. I'm going to put him out to stud. You are entirely too excited about this horse having sex, homie. Like, you are 100% too excited.
Yeah, there's weird things with him, too. I mean, the whole thing with, like, him getting back at Johnny, but this role would be perfect for him, but I'm not going to do it.
It would make his career.
Yeah. Like, fuck him. I'm going to force him out of the business.
Just so you know, it's not just about dollars and cents. She was the sweetest piece of ass I ever had. I'm all heart. You are not.
You're a pig.
you are half money and half shriveled wang. Like that's it. That's all you is. Man. But jumping back, trying to remember what the jump off was for this whole discussion of.
Oh, we were talking about the business and like the legitimization of from.
But the line where he's talking about the role of a godfather is a sacred one in Italian culture, and that idea of being the godfather means that you are supposed to be the one protecting your community. You are that role of the chosen father, the chosen family member who is supposed to look out for you and be your friend. And having that opening scene with the Undertaker and Vito.
You come to my house. You don't treat me with respect.
You don't even call me Godfather.
You don't even think to call me Godfather.
Yeah. Even though I am the godfather of your child. Like, and that was so well done. And putting that idea in early in the film, I thought was great. Because it makes you, anytime that they're referencing that and they're coming back to that throughout the film, it builds it. And then the final scene with Michael being the godfather in both senses of the word. and truly owning the fact that he's like, no, in order to keep this family together, in order to try and protect everyone, I will lie, I will cheat, I will kill, and do it indiscriminately and with no guilt, was, I thought, powerfully done.
Yes. Even
though the whole ending with Kay for me fell flat because you don't know who the fuck Kay is.
I love the ending because the symbolism in it and how it was shot.
Yes.
I mean,
I agree with that.
With her leaving the room, with everybody coming to Michael, and the validation of who he is in his current role, and
then her moment of doubt looking away. Right.
Which I thought was excellently done, regardless of character, regardless of Kay being a worthless sack of potatoes.
Yes, which, I agree with the way that was shot, but when I was watching it, I had this like, God, this would have been so much better if Kay was a human in this, and not, as you said, a sack of potatoes that Michael carries around at various points in the film. And there were so many weird things.
The sack of making babies is actually better because it was like, okay, I'm going to take over. I'm going to become the next head of household. Yeah. I need a wife and I need a child.
You are literally a plot device to get kids. Like, that was what she was at the end of the film, which I was really hoping that there was going to be more build in the relationship between Michael and her, especially with the way that they were portrayed at the beginning, because there was the opportunity for that to blossom in so many ways, but of course it didn't, because, Michael had to avenge his father by shooting the Turk. Also, apparently everybody is Sicilian. Like, nobody in it is Italian from anywhere else. Like, the Turk is apparently also from Sicily. Like, they're all from Sicily, but also the Turk's from Sicily. And I'm like, but he's called the Turk? I mean, I know he's got fields he's got heroin or poppy fields in Turkey, but why is he the Turk if he's Sicilian? And I was kind of like, all right. Well,
nicknames don't always make sense. I mean, if we're going to harken back to previous podcasts, think about Sally Tomato.
Okay. Which was, I was watching it and I was like, is Sally Tomato like a straight joke on Sal Tessio? And then I realized The Godfather came out after, what's it called? Breakfast at Failure.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, so that's impossible. Maybe...
Sad croissant outside jewelry store.
That I prefer that title. I prefer that title. Sad croissant outside jewelry store. It's been stepped on and no one wants it. But it was really cool seeing how all of these like archetypes within mob culture and like gangster culture and like gangster movies emerged in the film. Even to the point of seeing Al Pacino give a good gangster performance. Because my experience of him in gangster films is the just utterly just crap performance that he gives in the new Scarface, or the second Scarface. Because I really liked the original Howard Hughes Scarface from like the 30s. Because I thought that the plot was way more realistic. I thought everybody gave good performances. I had Boris Karloff. Like, hell yeah. And also it didn't have Al Pacino doing enough cocaine that apparently he turns into Superman and can just take M16 rounds.
Cocaine overdrive, you know?
Yeah, hey. But
it's like the red eye from Cowboy Bebop.
Pretty much, apparently. Apparently he's snorting all that red eye. And that was really cool, because my experience of Al Pacino is incredibly limited. Because I saw Scarface in high school, and I thought his performance was so bad in it that I've actively avoided watching him in other things, because I don't want to have the conversation with people where I'm like, I hate Al Pacino.
Well, I think a lot of what you experience goes hand in hand. I mean, he's done so many of these specifically Italian-American gangster films.
Yeah.
And that's not your cup of tea.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, it makes sense.
Is Cuban. And that's part of my problem with it, is that he has legitimately
He's still Italian-American.
Yes. He has the worst Cuban accent in the history of Cuban accents. But regardless, no, you make it you make a good point. And so much of what he's done is that. And in The Godfather, though, he's something else. And that was something that I really appreciated about virtually every performance in it, outside of the cop Captain McCready or
right.
McDouchebag, whatever.
I mean, not to pass it away, but he was a plot device and he deserved to die and he was going to die. No. So, like, I don't care that he wasn't that great because he's fucking dead.
No, he was a cartoonish villain and I loved it. He got shot in the head. 50 million young punk. I'm sorry. I know I've said that before in this podcast, but like that line was such a just like straight facepalm, like all the way, like you worthless crap stack, which is perfect for his character. You're supposed to hate him and you do. But something I really liked about it was the level of naturalism in everybody's performance. Like, and it's kind of the flip side of the fact that it didn't go deeper on some of the characters because you don't have, soul-bearing conversations in the process of everyday life most of the time.
Right.
You keep going on along the same and you occasionally have outbursts that indicate something, but you don't dig to the core of it, especially in a culture like Italian immigrant mob culture in the fucking 40s.
You have reasons for keeping secrets because they could be the fucking death of you.
Yeah. Or you also have reasons to not like bear some of those feelings. I mean, as you have with the godson who shows up and is crying because he's not going to get the movie role. Right. And Vito literally slaps him and is like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You went to Hollywood and they turned you into a pussy. I mean,
he doesn't. He does. He just says it in Italian. Yeah. He literally says that. He's like, put into this Hollywood. And I don't remember the term he uses, but he says something, cries and like slaps him. Then is like, don't worry, kid. I'll deal with it. But again, that's like, it makes sense that they don't show it. But I really enjoyed, as the flip side of that, the naturalism of all the performances, that you had all of these moments where it is like, like all the lines were like real people in a room shooting the shit, talking about something. Mm. There wasn't that kind of, built up movie magic in the way that the lines were put together. And I really dug on that. Even if, Marlon Brando's performance was a highly naturalistic performance of a man with 4 pork chops stuffed into his mouth.
Well, I mean, how else would they know that it is the Godfather if he doesn't eat all the time?
I mean, he's got to be just full of pork chops. I don't understand it, dude. Like, I've liked 2 performances from Marlon Brando. Like, from everything I've ever seen him in. Because literally everything else I've ever seen him in, his mouth is full of food. It's just full of food. You watch Streetcar Named Desire, the whole time he's spewing his lines through a mouthful of greasy chicken. And I know there's only one scene where he's eating greasy chicken, but like the whole rest of the movie, he still talks like it. You watch, Apocalypse Now, and the whole movie, he's like spewing like little chunks of fucking like bits of food all over you while he's just like munching and like filling his mouth. He doesn't actually eat in any of the scenes, but he talks like his mouth is full of fucking food.
He's a human incarnation of a hut.
That's perfect. That's beautiful. That's like, he is Zorba the Hutt. And then you have this movie where he literally, he looks and sounds like, I kept being like, is he gonna have mouth cancer? Like, is that what's gonna finally kill him? Like, you can't kill him with bullets because the cancer is too strong in him. Like, his face is like swollen and distended and like shaped wrong. And I swear to God, it looks like he has pork chops attached to it.
Or like chew. It looks like he has a pocket of chew in every scene.
Yeah. And that's, again, I just assumed it was pork chops because it's always food with this asshole. And like, I thought his performance was great, but I was just like, every scene I was like,
there were weird character choices made.
Yeah. Like, take the pork chops out of your mouth. And as beautiful as the scene where he goes to the Undertaker and is like, so I'm actually calling in the service. And the Undertaker is like, oh God, what's it going to be? And it's like, make my son not look like he was shot 500 times with Tommy guns. So his mother doesn't cry.
Yeah.
And that scene was so beautifully done. And the breakdown that he has there where he does finally lose it and cry after everything that he's lost and everything that's happened. Like, I loved that. But I was still like, the way he was talking, there's this one shot where he turns And he's like, it's the pain on his face, but he's still full of pork chops. And it's the like weeping with a mouthful of food, which I just find hysterically funny in anything where it happens. Like weeping with a mouthful of food is just the most disgusting thing. And like that particular moment, like looking at it as a whole, I can be like, that scene was beautifully done. It was wonderfully executed. But in the moment I laughed. Specifically at that shot, because I was just like, my God, take the pork chops out of your mouth.
Dealing specifically with Vito and his character, though, something that we haven't talked about that I absolutely love is his care for Michael.
Yes.
And how that he never wanted any of this to be put on him.
All that stuff was so good. Especially the stuff with him being the consigliere at the end after Michael takes control. Like... Dude.
But like,
dude.
I like the whole point when he wakes up in bed and Michael's not there because he fucking shot the Turk and the asshole police officer.
And he's literally like, just like, get out.
Yeah, like I if I had the strength, I would get up and smack you.
Yeah, for letting him do this. And even though it was the right move, and I think that that's something that Vito understands later, is that like, no, it was the right move. Like Michael called the shot. It was the right shot to take.
Because Michael was the only one who can call the shots, which is the unfortunate thing about it, too. Yeah. Which the film also... I mean, Fredo's a fuck-up. Sonny's brash and pugnacious and dead.
Yeah, good done. Like, it goes at the end. He's a great enforcer. He's a great lieutenant. Right. He's a terrible
He's a great wartime
consigliere, but he's not... I wouldn't have him be a consigliere for anything, homie. Like, I'm sorry. Like... I would not take Sonny's advice about where to go to dinner. Like, I'd take Clemenza's. I'd have Clemenza cook for me. Oh my God. I want to eat Clemenza's food. Like, the whole scene of him doing the spaghetti, and Sonny comes in and is like, Clemenza, you're mob enforcer. Stop making spaghetti and go do your fucking job. And I was like, that's beautiful. It's beautiful. But no, I agree. The relationship between him and Michael that they even set up right at the beginning where he's like, I am not taking this photo until Michael is here. Like, fuck your plans, and just straight walks away. And
Senator Corleone.
Yeah.
Governor Corleone.
Something. You know, and I love that idea, and that's the direction the family is moving. But him recognizing in Michael someone else who had the opportunity to make the hard decisions and do what needed to be done, but also recognizing the fact that he doesn't want this for his family forever. You know?
Right.
I made my living and I make no apologies for it.
To keep legitimacy in a very illegitimate business, which is something that continues. I mean, even Michael's like, we shouldn't go to narcotics.
Yeah.
Like, we will lose face with the people that support us right now. We won't have the police, the newspapers, and the politicians in our pockets if we do something that is blatantly wrong. And they probably could have if they still threw enough money at them, but they would have lost stock.
Yeah, no, and it would have been difficult to keep that going, which was also funny to me because, I mean, they're losing it anyway because Vito's dead. Right. Which is the point made is that, like, when Vito dies, like, the connections he's made are the reason we have this protection. And that's also why when Vito dies, Brasini makes his move. Because that's where they are weak now. They don't have the protection of the police, the politicians, and the newspapers. They've lost Vito, and he assumes that no one else in the family can make hard choices.
Because other people have tried and failed.
Yes. And that's when Michael makes the move, because they're being underestimated. And that was so well put together in that, is that Michael being like, no, we need to move in a new direction, so we need to be legitimate in this new area, in this new way, build those new connections, and totally sever all of this from the old connections, and burn it. Because we've lost those connections anyway, so fuck it. Torch it. And doing a beautiful job of that, because fuck Brasini.
Yeah,
fuck Brasini.
I also love going back to specifically the relationship with Michael and Vito, and Vito being the consigliere at the end.
Yeah.
The whole, like, bit about him saying, like, all right, this is what everybody's gonna do. And, like, Michael already kind of knows, but, like, it's interesting to have that, like, breakdown and the relationship between them and, like, okay, this is really you taking over the family business played out in that.
Well, and the shift towards, Michael being the like, no, this is the answer. And then Vito moving in and doing the consigliere, doing the diplomat, and being like, I understand your feelings and this is all really good. And yeah, you know, but this is, you have to understand. While Michael has the stature, the implacable face that Vito has shown for most of the film. And watching that shift of Vito then moving into the other role and understanding the role he needed to play there, the same way that Tom was playing that exact same role at the beginning, was really beautiful to see. As well as the fact that I thought it was funny that, like, the only mobsters with honor anywhere in the film are the Corleone family. Like, everyone else is constantly backstabbing each other and lying to each other and murdering each other, and nobody else has a fucking lick or a shred of honor to them. But the Corleones are honorable until you fuck us. And then we kill you all, which is great. Because Vito, like, I really enjoyed that as an element of the film. Because it's realistic in a way to run a business, is if you want people to trust your word, you have to be honorable with your word. But if you also want to be feared, you have to make people understand that if you break your word to them, it's total war.
It's like that old saying, you know, talk softly and carry a big dick.
Yeah. I mean, we all know Teddy Roosevelt was all about extra large penises. I mean, that's definitely my thought. You've seen that guy smile?
Which is the tradition that Donald Trump is attempting to carry out today.
Did you actually, total non sequitur, did you see the video of, like, all the people being like, show us your dick?
No.
After he was like, because we all know I've got a big dick. Like, a whole bunch of people were like, show it. Show it now. We're calling the bluff. Show us your dick.
That's hilarious given the shit going back, way back about the whole birth certificate fiasco with Obama.
And him being the one who, like, kept it alive, being like, still haven't seen the birth certificate. Oh, you've got a big dick? We still haven't seen that big dick, Donald. So I had to share that real quick, because I saw that last night and I just about died.
Oh, sounds golden.
Yes. I loved the subtlety of the way that Vito ran things. And one would hope that, especially moving into the second film, again, because I haven't seen it yet, Michael will show that same kind of subtlety, because the whole idea is showing the parallels and the differences between the old and the new with the second film, or at least that's my understanding of it, in the way that it's shot with the two dual storylines expanding together. For example, with when Sonny dies, like, yes, he's lost a son, but he realizes that the best strategic move is to feign weakness, sue for peace, take the peace, pretend that they're weakening and falling down to bring out the enemies, and then kill them all in one move. And I thought that was like the slow explication of that was really well done. Again, you have to dig a little bit beneath the surface on the film, but like, I think that Vito had that plan from the first moment where Sonny was dead, and he was like, and he was crying, and he was like, okay, we need to end the war now.
Right.
I think he was already looking ahead to the final end game of,
well, yeah, definitely
they'll make the move.
Flushing out who was against him, and that reveal of like, okay, it's not really Philip Tattaglia, it's Brazzini.
Yeah, send representatives to Brazzini to negotiate. Oh, you mean Tattaglia? No. I mean Brazzini. I didn't know till today, but Brazzini's the one running it. And like, fuck.
Yeah.
I love that.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, it's not something that's really set up. I love the reveals when it's like spoon-fed throughout and we're like, oh shit, there's that final moment that clicks. But even as like the raw reveal, I still felt that was incredibly powerful.
Yeah. Well, because he does explicitly say it, because it's not explicit in the previous scene. But if you're looking at the dynamics on the table, Brazzini is 100% running the show.
Right.
And is making sure that Vito knows it. Like, he's rubbing Vito's face in the fact that this is what needs to happen. And Vito's like, all right, well, now I know who to plan against. One last comment on and I apologize to jump back to it. I'm jumping back to it. The Marlon Brando's mouth is always full of food. there is actually the scene where his mouth is full of food in the oranges.
Yeah.
Where I was like, there is no appreciable difference in the way you speak with your mouth full of orange to the rest of the film.
He was a little bit more monsterish. Where he was like,
and that whole scene.
He was Frankenbrando.
Yes, perfectly put. Perfectly put. That he's literally just, that whole scene for me was like, cause I know I should have been like sadder that he died of the heart attack at the end.
Well, but I think the scene is bittersweet.
Yes. And
because,
that's the idea
I mean, you've already had the transition. It's showing Vito how he cared for Michael, how he cared for Michael's kid, the whole connection between grandfather and grandson. Like, that's all beautifully done in it.
Yes.
And you have that passing, and that it is sad, but like, the family is okay at that point. They are going on without him. The next chapter, like, there's ink on the page.
Yeah.
In the next chapter.
And that is the final, like, it's him understanding that he's been able to step back and get shit-faced with his tomato plants for a while. And I love that. And I love the naturalism of of him and the kid. And I was reading up about it, and apparently that's another scene where basically they just turned on a camera and, like, stuck Marlon Brando character, like, doing method acting in the garden with the little kid. And we're like, do things. And so, like, a huge amount of it, like, all the shit with him playing around with the orange and, like running around.
Funny, too, because that's also one of the most iconic scenes from the film, as weird as it is. Like, the shit with the orange peel has been, like every time you see a parody, it's usually worked in somewhere. Like, I saw footage of John Belushi.
Nice.
Auditioning for SNL, and he did the whole bit with the orange peel and everything. It was great.
Awesome. But I mean, that was the thing though, is that in that scene, it was so naturalistic as that I was literally just sitting there being like, this is a shit-faced old man stumbling around his backyard with like a 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't, it was just too funny for me. And like, even when Vito died, I was just like, what? And I got to the end of it. And again, like, really, really well done scene that I personally just had that, inappropriate reaction to. Like, the end of Hero. When, you seen Hero?
Nope.
The end of Hero is this whole big, like, I'm sacrificing myself so that China can be a great empire, and there's this whole thing. And the main character, like, walks across this giant yard with, like, 50,000 archers, and, like, stands against the wall, and, like, the 50,000 archers shoot him. And James saw it in the theaters, and apparently when it got to, there's like this long, like, slow, sad shot after they all shoot their arrows, where it's like panning along the like giant wall of like the thousands of arrows stuck in the wall, and then it gets to the point where he was, and there's like a human-shaped hole in the arrows because he got hit with like 300 arrows, and apparently James just like broke down laughing in the theater and started like pointing at the screen and like screaming with hysterical laughter. And again, like, I sometimes have those similar reactions of just like, I know this is horrifically inappropriate to laugh right here, but that is so ridiculous, and I can't help myself. And I had that kind of reaction to that whole scene. It was just like, Vito, I'm sorry I laughed at your death, because you were one of the best characters in this, but what the
yeah, and you'll grow to love Vito even more over the course of the second film.
That's what I figured.
The funny thing is, you brought that up, and when I was watching through the film this most recent time, the whole, like, Sonny death scene, I was thinking, well, he's more of a badass than Boromir.
I mean, at least film Boromir. Book Boromir gets those points, but yeah, film
he takes
Boromir,
motherfuckers down with him.
Yeah, film Boromir takes
much
like
more
3
damage.
guys. Yeah, he takes 3 arrows and 3 guys in the process of taking 3 arrows, whereas in the book, he takes 50 arrows, and they find him on top of a pile of dead orcs going, they took the halflings! I'll kill them! I'll kill them! And then actually
full-on blood rage.
Yeah, like...
Sorry, I just... Complete non sequitur. I just want an actual legit Redwall movie.
Yeah, dude. Actual, like, Blood Wrath. There was an amazingly well done, British, produced animated version.
I would love to see
a bunch
that.
of them. It, I mean, obviously didn't go as hard as it could have, because it was designed for kids.
Right. I mean, yes, I can't argue with that at all.
Yeah. But, like, they did a really, really good job, and they did Redwall, Matamayo, Mossflower, and Martin the Warrior, I believe.
Okay.
And that was, when I was, like, 15, I was, like, turning on PBS at, like, 4:30 in the afternoon to be like, I'm watching me my Redwall half hour. Hell yeah. Like.
Nice.
No.
So were they films or were they, like, episodes?
It's episodes. Okay. It's, like, 20-minute episodes, with, like, 8 minutes of, like, we're going to talk about this element of medieval British culture because this is entertainment. And here's, like, a 2-minute thing of Brian Jakes ranting incoherently. And then I just kind of be like, well, just give me my, can I just watch Badger Mom huck tables at rats? Like, that's what I came here for. All right. That's why I came to this room. But no, I definitely love to see a Redwall, actual, like, film adaptation of Redwall, full length, full brutality. You know.
Okay, that's not gonna happen.
Full brutality.
The best that we're getting with Redwall is like a PG-13.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, none of the Redwall books I think go any darker than PG-13.
No, I mean they could. There's a lot that's implied. I mean,
yeah,
especially with the Badgers because they're badass as fuck.
Oh, and they just mass murder like hundreds of enemies in combat. But yeah, you could do like PG-13, like fantasy combat, and I don't think that'd be a problem.
I'm also really sorry about like the last 2 minutes of this Godfather podcast that devolved to Patrick and I talking about Redwall books and adaptations of Redwall books because maybe 5% of our listening audience has actually read one of them.
I mean, hey man, there's a whole generation that like got introduced to fantasy through Redwall. I choose to believe. And I don't care if reality is different.
I mean, I think people in our friend group, there's like maybe 1 or 2 that's not in the room.
Yeah. I mean, I know at least a few who read Redwall, but yeah, a lot of our friends did not ever get on that train.
Godfather.
The secret is we gotta make them an offer that they can't refuse. We gotta offer them the book, and then if they say no to reading it, then we pull out knives. No, see, we threaten to kill them. I also just love that, just as a method. Hi, we would like to politely ask you to do this thing. Right. It is in your best interest. It's in our best interest. Here's the reasons why. Are you down? Right. No, go fuck yourself. All right, sir, I will be back tomorrow with men with Tommy guns. We will threaten your children.
Right. Well, yeah, going back to the whole thing with Tom when he visits the director.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you know, why didn't you say that you were with the Corleones? Like, I would have taken you more seriously. And it was like, I don't like to drop the name unless I have to.
Yeah.
You know, like, if I can do business without it, then great. Like, I'd rather just do that without bringing in, oh, hey, I'm with a huge mob family.
Yeah, like, I'm not coming in here trying to flex nuts. I'm trying to give you a good business opportunity. Like, come on, meow. Like, do your shit. Well, and also the fact that he let the guy check him out to be like, he knew it. He was like, all right, you check me out. You find out who I am. You see if you still want to be rude to me. Oh, you still want to be rude to me? You still going to tell me to get the fuck out of your house during dinner?
You're still going to call my high-powered mob family a bunch of guineas. Like,
what?
Like, you are asking
guinea
whore.
That's your wife? What? Why are you calling? Like, again, what did that guy think was going to happen? I'm sorry, we never got to that. Like, fuck the sister's husband. I just want to end at least get this in before it ends. Because I was literally like, they should have killed him so much earlier.
Yeah.
They should have just shot him.
Yeah.
So much earlier in the film.
I mean, there's the politics of, like, the sister's blood not wanting to offend her, because awkward shit. It was very much the cycle of abuse.
Yes.
Which is unfortunate. It's disgusting whenever that plays out, but it happens.
Yes.
And deep down, even though he was an awful person, he was awful to her, he was verbally and physically abusive, she still did care about him. And that's the whole thing about the end when she goes in and sees Michael.
And says, you son of a bitch, you killed him.
Like, you just agreed to be godfather to our child, and you killed his fucking dad.
Yeah. But, I mean, again, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't agree with the fact that Michael should be lying to his fam and the rest of it, because that's gonna, for the most part, I mean, I don't care if he lies to Kate because she's not a person in the film, but he shouldn't be lying to the family because the family needs to be able to trust each other. So he should have been more upfront about the fact, like, he should have literally gone to her and been like, he admitted to having Sonny murdered. What do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm. I think there's the difficult reality of her being belligerent and not believing him at that. I mean, he could have given her that chance.
Yes.
But I think that he calculated it and decided that just lying to her face was the easier out.
Well, yeah, or just not answering either way. Which is the fun thing about that scene, is that she comes in and she demands, she's like, you fucking killed him. And he goes, calm down. And
you're my sister and I love you.
Yeah, he never actually denies doing it to her.
Right.
Which was
only
interesting.
To Kay, because again, Kay is not people.
Yeah, like, for the whole fucking movie. Like, what the shit? But yeah, there's the whole blood connection thing there as well. But I just have to say, as the scene of the sister's husband, like, assaulting her was just so unbelievably difficult for me to watch.
Oh, yeah.
And was just literally like, this is just prolonged unpleasantness. But it was also so satisfying to watch Sonny kick his ass. Like, one of the most realistic fights that I've seen. And the point where it just degenerates into him beating him with random objects and trying to get him to stop letting go, like, trying to get him to let go of the pole. Like,
if Sonny would have got there, he would have fucking killed him that second time. There is no ifs, ands, or buts.
He said it the first time. He said, if you touch my sister again, you're dead.
No, and he did.
He did.
I almost wish that Sonny got capped after that.
Yeah, so like on the way back to the crib, because then it would have been over, and she would have been fine with it, and because of, at the time, she would have been fine with it. That was something that I was, like, also frustrated about, is like, so why didn't you kill him then? Like, I know I called it. Like, right then, I was like, this guy knows that Sonny's gonna come try and kill him if he does this. This is obviously a setup. But anyway, I'm sorry.
There was things later on about needing to secure Power Base and flesh out who their enemies actually were.
Yeah,
which is why they go back and interrogate him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's a fucking dead man, but...
Yeah, well, they knew going into that scene that he was dead. It was how slowly they were going to kill him, which I think was determined by that scene. And he admitted his guilt, so there was no, extensive cutting off pieces of you.
We're just gonna have Clemenza fucking garrote you in
the
car.
Yeah, because Clemenza's on that shit. Clemenza. Well, and, in closing... I want to let you know, that, I appreciate everything that you've done for me, I appreciate it. And, if you ever have a service, that day might never come, but, you can ask me for this service.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
So you're reverse Godfathering me, essentially.
Yes, I am. I'm offering you a service that you can't refuse to ask me for. You understand?
Well, thank you. I will take that. I will appreciate that. And I may call upon you one day, Patrick.
Excellent.
But I think that that brings us to an end of a cinematic masterpiece, although it is flawed. And
I'd definitely say it's a keystone of American cinema.
And we will see you in the next chapter. Well, we'll see you before then, but we look forward to doing Godfather 2 sometime in the semi-near future. And
yeah. And
here's to you, Luca, as a fellow big dude.
Thank you, Luca. And we hope that all of you out there will not be sleeping with the fishes.